Greetings, dear hearts. How are you today? It's Miss D. I'm doing a weekly check-in and seeing how everybody is and following up on the process of me grieving and going through the loss of Stacy. It's Saturday, October the 12th. Well, yesterday was a big day. Um, Yesterday I actually went and picked up Stacy's ashes. Um, the cremation was done, um, and we were able to receive her ashes back. This check-in, I want to say that while that was a hard thing to do, I wasn't prepared. I thought, we're 3 weeks out now. I thought I was doing much better emotionally, adjusting to the loss of Stacy. But what I found this week and especially yesterday is that on the surface, I'm doing really, really well. Um, I'm functioning more. My mind is clear. I'm starting to get back into the swing of things. I'm even planning to go back to work next week. Yesterday and the day before, I recognized that I have a lot of emotions still underneath just the surface. That it doesn't take much for anger to come up, um, and it doesn't take much for the tears to come back. I do believe this is all normal for the grief and loss process. We're only 3.5 weeks out. Um, but it did surprise me. I went to the funeral home yesterday thinking that I was prepared to go get Stacy's ashes, Stacy. And I found that once they actually handed the urn over to me, I was overwhelmed. It made things really become real. Stacy's gone. She's not coming back. Um, while I have her ashes here, it does feel a little bit better, believe it or not, that I finally can put what we're calling closure. I don't really believe closure is the right word for what is going on. It does end the process of all the initial having to deal with the loss. Um, there's no more needing the outside world uh, business people in the mix, the undertakers, the medics, the police, the doctors, and all that. It's been a waiting game. Like I said, it's been 3 weeks since Stacy's gone, and we were just able to have the cremation done, um, as we had to get the death certificates, and that goes through a process. I live in Seattle, Washington, one of uh, the larger cities around here in the Northwest, and the going through the system took that amount of time. The cremation couldn't happen until the death certificates were signed, and so we finally got all that done. Stacy has her body has been cremated and now returned to me. As I've been doing this grief and loss series, I really wanted it to be a place where A, I can kind of journal my emotions through the process, and B, if I can be helpful for anyone else um, to do that. And so for me, the journaling of it is, wow, the process is taking a bit of a time for the realization and the moving to the next um, phase for me. I'm doing surfacely. If you see me, if you catch me on any given day, You may catch me laughing, smiling, and crafting, which is my love. Um, but underneath just the surface, I am still struggling with acceptance that my daughter is gone, acceptance that she's not going to ever come back. I'm not going to hear that laugh. I'm not going to just see her come bouncing up the steps. Um, and that's taken a bit to get used to. What I find mentally is once you start accepting that those things aren't going to be happening, then you really are doing the realizing um, that she's gone. And yeah, I think it's a blessing in disguise that we get to go through a period in the grief and loss cycle where we do what they call denial. That helps the process, helps you, the person, to be able to steady up and get ready for the acceptance that the person is gone, that Stacy's gone. And so I'm entering into the acceptance part. So grief and loss goes in a cycle of four big emotions, what most of us go, but there's 6 to 7 others. But you know, we do the denial, we do the uh, acceptance, the grieving, the anger, um, the fear is part of the cycle of what we call grief and loss. And so I can honestly say I have been moving back and forth through those cycles, partly accepting, partly not, partly being in denial, partly not, partly angry, partly not, and I hesitate a little bit because I find now that the anger is underneath the surface. I mean, small things can set it off. Maybe later on I'll share in more detail, but just very small, everyday things can happen, and I've been reacting uh, more angrily than who I really am. It doesn't take much to really catch me snapping, yelling, screaming, um, which is a surprise to me because I thought I had that under control here. But yeah, such as it is, it's something else to deal with that I got to go deeper. And I do know as I'm doing more of the acceptance part, now that I have Stacy uh, ashes here, and yeah, I'm intentionally saying ashes instead of Stacy because I'm trying to make sure I go through the acceptance that Stacy is really gone. And my advice would be to anybody else that is going through this grief and loss process, maybe watching this video to see what is Ms.D talking about and how can she be helpful. Um, I want to, state that we do have to accept and deal with what we really are facing, that our loved one is gone. And so now that I have her remains here, her ashes, I today need to say her ashes. I tried to tell you yesterday when I received her, um, it was hard. My daughter Erica went with me, and thank God she did, because as I received that urn with my daughter, emotion took over, and I, walked to the car talking to Stacy. I held Stacy in the car. Holding the urn, I'm talking to Stacy as if I have Stacy. I'm, saying in my mind, this is the last time that I'm really holding her. And when I realized consciously that that was me, hanging on to the emotion of being a mother and not going to be able to hold my daughter again, I was talking to the urn and the ashes as if Stacy was there. Reality is, those are the remains of Stacy, those are the ashes. Stacy's spirit has moved on. In my belief, she has moved on to be with the great Creator, and so her spirit is well and fine. What I have are her ashes. That helps me to do acceptance. I hope that me being so honest, open, and detailed about it, it helps somebody else. What I have found in life, watching other people, there's sometimes um, through this grief process, people get stuck in any of those phases that I just talked about, the denial, the anger, the grieving, the loss. People can get stuck. And what I'm intentionally doing and being very conscious of is making sure that I move through and not get stuck in any of the areas. Moves through in the time span that I need. Is not moving as fast as I would hope, but uh, I am conscious that I need to keep on moving, live each day as we go forward. And so I'm hoping that somebody hearing this video that may be stuck in that whole denial phase where you're kind of living and not believing that the person is gone, that you hear that, yeah, I get it. That's a beautiful thing to do. If you can get away with not having to accept that the person is never coming back, um, that would be beautiful. It's not reality. It would be beautiful, and you'd be stuck. I find if we stay stuck in any emotion that's not real, um, it'll wreak havoc on our lives. You know, people will start looking at you and like, okay, do you have a grip with reality? They may give you grace. You know, I'm only 3 weeks out. They're probably still giving me some grace. And I thank them for that because, yeah, I need a little bit. Sometimes it's just okay not to fully be impacted by the big loss of losing my baby. Um, but um, if I can help somebody understand, it's just a phase. We're going to go through it. We will get through it. We have to be conscious. What I recognize is, as in most things in life, we get to make choices. My big lesson this week and through this process till this point has been that, yes, we're dealing with a lot of emotion. We're dealing with a lot of hurt and pain, but we get to make a choice how we deal with it. So if you're watching this video and you have a loss, be it recent or be it an older loss, and you're feeling all the emotion and all the chaos inside that goes on with the ups and downs of the emotion, the mood swing of it all. Sit still for just 2 minutes. And I know sometimes sitting still is a scary thing when you're going through grief and loss. A lot of times, that's when we cry. That's when we do our most remembering of the person. Yeah, I know the thoughts are just flooding through your mind. Um, I mean, I said to someone recently, it's like I'm reliving her whole life from birth to the day I walked in that room and found her gone. It's like that's playing in my head. And so when I'm quiet, that's when it's playing. Um, Later on, maybe next week, we'll talk about strategies on how we move through. And I do have some. Some are unorthodox, but I have strategies for moving through. Um, we do. If we can be still just a few moments, you'll recognize that there's a part where you can choose how you're going to move forward. You hear of some people that they lose a loved one and they just don't move forward. They get lost. They are just emotionally depressed for the rest of their lives, or they want to die themselves. All those emotions come, they're part of it, but we get to make a choice on what we're going to do. I choose, and hopefully you choose, to honor the person that has gone and go ahead and continue living life in a manner that um, brings some kind of joy back to your life, some kind of life back to your life. I mean, this limbo world of when it first happens, that kind of shock for me, because I wasn't expecting Stacy to go. Um, it was a shock that one day she's here, the next day she's not. So your mind goes through this fog, gray, unbelief period. And sometimes we know that the person is going to leave. Um, and sometimes, even knowing when it actually happens, our brain wants to say, no, that's not real. So I call that the fog um, area. But, and that's helpful. You know, it takes the time to adjust and get ready to deal with some things. So any phase of this cycle for me is okay. It's all a part of the natural thing that needs to happen for us to move to the next um, part of it till we work our way all the way back out. And so what I want you to be conscious of is that you are making choices. We make the choice to stay in that pain, to stay in that mode of I don't believe, to stay in the mode of I'm just so angry, everybody on the planet's on my nerves. Okay, that's a little extreme. That may be some of the stuff that I went through. But like I say, this is my journal. So in my journal, I'm marking that in my life, the Ms.D or Deborah that I am, generally am a happy-go-lucky, upbeat kind of person, and rarely do I get to the part where all this anger and uh, just tell somebody straight up what I'm feeling ever happens. So I'm recognizing that it's a real new emotion, and I could see that you could get stuck right here because it feels kind of good to just straight up tell somebody, leave me alone. Nope, not doing it. That's kind of empowering. Um, and when you're doing that in anger, though, it could be ugly. That's not who I really want to be. And that's not who I've been, and that's not who I'm going to continue to be. I get to make a decision. Deal with these emotions. Understand these emotions are coming because I am trying to grab hold of the fact that Stacy's gone. For you, you may be going through all those periods. No, it's just a part of the process that you get to choose to not stay there, um, to move on. I know this could sound really hard to some folks, as you're in the grips of the loss, but hear me. We do get to make a choice on how we react to everything that goes on. We just have to be conscious a little bit, be accountable a little bit, um, and understand while these losses are great and feel like nobody else on this planet understands the parts of life that most of us are going to experience sooner or later. Hopefully no mothers get to experience this part. I gotta tell you, through my years here on the planet, I've had some losses, but this one, mm, to lose your child is a tough one. Maybe one of these weeks we'll talk about what that really is for a mother to lose her child. I said to someone, it's like a part of me is gone. And it's the absolute truth. And while that's true for me and hurtful for me, it doesn't mean that no one else has ever felt that people aren't walking around with losses, hurts, and pain. So we have to be accountable enough to be handling our emotions to stay in relationship here on the planet with um, the rest of mankind. Okay, um, it's bigger than just us. So we do want to keep some of that in conscious because it can be really tempting to be real selfish right now while you're in the throes of your whole world being turned upside down. So if you can hear me, yes, go ahead, grieve. Go ahead, feel. Go ahead, remember. But do make a decision that at some point you're going to move forward. I don't know who that's for, but um, it's for someone out there, dear hearts. And, you know, it's Ms.D doing what we can do here on the channel to be supportive of each other. That being said, that is my check-in this week. Ms.D has gotten Stacy's remains back, have chosen her urn, and it's beautiful. And at some point, I will share that. Maybe around the time that we share the completion of the journal that I've been working on. Have been working on the journal all week, and it's coming out beautifully. I really believe I'm coming to the end of the journal. It got me through the very initial parts where I could take all that emotion, all those thoughts, and put it in that journal and play with the paintings and the pictures. I found that I'm writing less in it. Of course, I will journal yesterday, but I don't need to journal it the same way every day. So it served its purpose. And so, yeah, next week I'll share the journal. I'll put my final touches on that, and we'll continue on with what we do next as we're moving forward. So, dear hearts, just want to take a few minutes to check in. Thank those who have sent words of condolence and cards and letters and all those beautiful things. I appreciate it. I'm in the fight. I'm on my way back. That's Ms.D saying, have a good week. Look out for me. I'm going to make a video a little bit later today. Um, it's going to be one for the hair part of the channel. So look out for that because I am still in the fight of life and transitioning. And so I think I'm going to do something with my hair. I'm going to do an update on my big chop. If you're interested, look out for Ms.D. She'll be back. Until then, those who are going through loss, my heart and my prayers are with you. My words are of wisdom and kindness are, come on through the process. We got this. We can do this. Until later, bye now.